Love. Some would say it took a backseat when the pandemic forced us apart. As a family-run and proudly Canadian-owned company, Charm Diamond Centers saw the need to bring us together with tales of love and created the Canadian Love Map podcast. Since then, we've shared hundreds of real, uplifting stories that prove love conquers all. So thank you for listening. We couldn't do it without you. And remember, love starts here.
He showed up with this little white shirt and a little bow tie and this curly black hair. And I looked over and I thought, he's the one, I'm doomed, and I kind of knew then it's over.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Canadian Love Map. I'm Nancy Regan. Today's love story belongs to Sue and Jim, and it all started in grade 1. From childhood crushes to high school sweethearts, their relationship seemed meant to be. But their story had a 30-year intermission before they found their happy ending. Okay, Sue and Jim, I've got you here, and I'm going to start where I usually finish with couples. Because with you guys, I want to start by asking, what is it you love most about each other? Who wants to go first?
I'll start.
Ooh, love it.
What do I love most about Sue? I would have to say her honesty and her authenticity, for sure. Authentic in word and action, and just very honest and loyal to friends. To me, that's what makes me love Sue. And her sense of humor and things she says sometimes when she shouldn't say them.
Maybe we'll see an example of that today.
We might.
Yeah. What do I love about Jim? Well, look at him. He's handsome and he's sexy, but I like his kindness. He's generous. He's giving. He's loving. Don't do that.
You're looking for coaching from him.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I love that. That's true teamwork.
No,
honey, what do I love about you?
Yeah, and really, honestly, what I do love about him is his values, like his family values, his overall values, his integrity. He's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, when did you guys first fall in love? How old do you think you were?
She said.
It's a long story, and it starts way back in grade 1. We were 6 years old. And I don't think we fell in love until much later, probably grades 5 or 6, I would say. That's when we had our first kiss. And I would say grade 5. My timelines and my dates are much more accurate than Sue's. She'll fill in the details. She's more of a detail person, but the dates, I think it was grade 5. We had our first kiss. So I would say that would probably be the first time we felt love.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's not go to that salacious detail of the first kiss quite yet. Let's go back to grade 1 because that is so fun. What do you remember about meeting each other or being in that class together?
What I remember about grade 1 is sitting at our desk with our hands folded, and Jim was late arriving to class, and he showed up with this little white shirt and a little bow tie and this curly black hair. And I looked over and I thought, he's the one, I'm doomed. This is not, and I kind of knew then.
It's like, it's over.
It's over. It's that little red thread,
my Lord.
But was it love? Puppy love. My sister always said that Jim reminded her of Donny Osmond, so it's appropriate that, we were kind of in puppy love early on. And again, we only lived a street apart from each other, so there was always a lot of interaction, just in the neighborhood and community and stuff like that as well.
What was that interaction like? Like, what would you do together, or as part of a group, or?
Yeah, it was
just
mostly schoolmates hanging out. We'd go to the school, play soccer. Yeah. We'd hang out, go to McDonald's, and just go for walks and that kind of thing. It was very innocent times. Yeah, it was
holding hands and stuff.
Yeah, things have changed substantially over the years, but what young people do for hanging out and being together. But for us, it was very much around athletics. It was around soccer. It was around basketball. And just running around being fools and having a good time.
Yeah, we always both played on the varsity teams. And so I would be the captain of the girls' team. Jim would be the captain of the boys' team. And and those kind of things. But even if we went to school dances, our teachers would encourage us to, why don't you and Jim go and dance, that kind of thing. And, they always saw that in us. And I don't know how many dances we would be at, and the chaperone would call Jim over and talk. One day we won a spot dance, and we won an album, and the teacher said, here, let me show Jim some moves, football plays on the back of this album, Buckman Turner Overdrive. And, so it was always those kind of things, like dancing was a big part of our past, and not so much our present. We just don't have occasion to get out and dance. But yeah, so sports, dancing, that kind of thing.
That reminds me, there was a dance component for Jim really early on, right?
There was. Yes.
You look at me like you don't want to talk
This
about
has come back to haunt me many, many times in my adult life. We started dancing. My parents had a ballroom dance school. So I started dancing when I was 4 or 5 years old, I guess. Me and my twin sisters. We were the act. We were the dancing twins. And so we did all the school plays, and we went on Don Messer. We went on Lobster Trap and all the shows around the Atlantic provinces.
So I'm going to interject to say Don Messer's Jubilee was a TV show that was watched by literally anyone who had a television in the Maritime region.
Yeah, it was a big deal. We were 6 years old, didn't have a clue what we were doing. Went to Halifax from Moncton and overnighted, which is something we never did. And we got to meet all the people on Don Messer, which were incredible people. And got paid to do it, which I bought my first bike with. So it was kind of a cool time.
So is that what attracted you to him, that you knew he was making money on it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I had money.
That's what. Yeah, he didn't let me ride the bike, but so our teachers would say, "Be sure to watch Jim and Jan tonight on XYZ show," and But I do have that recording if you ever want to see it, of Jim and Jan dancing with the Book to Dancers and everybody else. So that was fun times.
Oh, I want to see it. Okay, so let's go to grade 5. Tell me about that first kiss.
Go ahead, Sue. What do you remember?
I remember us holding hands. I remember it being cold out, and I remember Jim coming in for the kiss, and I remember not liking it because it felt like he was covering my whole face with his mouth, and I kind of pulled back, and I said, okay, you kiss that way. This is how I like to kiss, and which I had no clue what I was doing either, but I knew that it was like, I don't think this is how they do it in the movies, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
And she's still complaining to this day.
She was coaching you from the first
grade
moment.
5.
Yes, it was he's a very good kisser, I must say.
Well, you're taking credit for that, though, really.
Yes, the teacher.
Yeah, that's right.
Teacher.
That's it.
Kissing coaching with Sue.
Kissing coaching.
He was a specialist in dance, and you
Yeah.
were a specialist in kissing. Go figure.
Yeah.
Grade 5. Where did the relationship go from there? What did it look like through junior high and high school, right?
And university.
Off and on.
Yeah.
It was kind of a casual kind of relationship. At times we wouldn't know if we were going out or not. She would call me up and say, "Are we dating?" And I'd say, "I'm not sure." And it was sort of like that all through junior high, high school, and even into university. It was just we would just get together and we'd be dating again, and otherwise we were just sort of floating around.
Yet everyone knew that we were together, but sometimes I'd be like, I haven't heard from Jim. And then all of a sudden the phone would ring, and there would be Jim again. And I'd be like, I guess we're going out, but we were always doing things with Jim's family and my family and that kind of thing. So it wasn't just a Jim and Sue relationship. It was very much with the family as well. So Jim's twin and I were on the same teams and stuff like that. So Jim was never not in my life, even after, when we officially broke up, I guess, at one point in university, I would still be at his place and visiting his mom and his family and going over for dinner. And his mom was a fan, so oftentimes she would arrange dinner when Jim was going to be around or something like that, because she was always trying to get us back together. But Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you talk about, you mentioned when you split up in university. What happened there? Getting juicy.
Getting juicy. Your version or my version?
I'll do my version.
Okay.
I started dating someone else and ultimately got married
Yeah.
after I went through training in Saskatchewan with the RCMP. So I came back from there, got married, and sort of moved on into another life stream, if you will. And
Did Sue go to your wedding?
oh, there's a story.
Oh, there's a story.
I did see him on his wedding day. I was walking down the street with my best friend, and there's Jim on the other side of the street. And I go over, and my friend's version is I poked him, and we had conversation, and then he went off his merry way. But I still even on that day, I kind of sensed that this is not over, and So, but Jim's version, when we did split up at university, we had always been together, like always. And then at university, I waited a year. I went to another university before going to the same university as Jim. And when we got there, we're both on our respective varsity sports teams. And Jim said to me, we probably won't spend as much time together because I have studies, we have sports, but we will get together. And I said, fine. And meanwhile, there were other gentlemen who were expressing interest, but he said, okay, if you don't say you love me, then I'm out of here.
An ultimatum.
Yeah.
And
I remember that like it was yesterday.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't say, I love you.
No. She has a difficult time with that.
Yeah, not now.
Not now, but you
Yeah,
did back then.
I did, yeah.
So you issued an ultimatum.
Yeah.
And
in retrospect, probably not the greatest thing to do. And I just went off and did my own thing.
Well, wait a sec. What was her answer when you said that?
She went mute and
Yeah.
didn't say anything.
Yeah,
And we were young and we were
kids,
trying to figure
yeah.
things out.
yeah.
So ultimately, got married, 15 years, 2 boys, career, that kind of thing. And all the way to 30 years apart from Sue. But we had contact off and on throughout those 30 years.
Yeah.
How had you felt on your wedding day when you had that interaction with her on the street and you were on your way to get married?
Yeah. My mom was a huge, huge fan of Sue's. Sue was like her daughter, another daughter. And my mom was not a fan of my first wife's. I say that because I was married twice. Mm-hmm. And she was not a fan at all of my first wife. And so actually standing in the aisle of the church, my only thought was, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And the only thought I had was, well, she waited around 6 months while I was at training. Therefore, I was the guy of commitment. I was brought up that way. Mm-hmm. But the thought of, just run away. Don't do it. I'm sitting there in my red surge and I shouldn't be doing this. And thinking of Sue.
But the congregation is there. The pews
Everything
are
is
filled.
there, yes.
Yeah, it's a hard
Everything
thing
is saying no, no, no. But so 15 years later,
This podcast is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, Canada's largest family-owned jewelry store. They are proud to be putting love on the map, and the staff at Charm Diamond Centers are thrilled to be a part of your love story too. So visit charmdiamondcenters.com or one of your local stores. Love starts here. So the beautiful thing about relationships, I think, is that where many people see them as being failed relationships if you get a divorce. I mean, you had 2 beautiful kids, so it all makes us who we are, right?
True,
and
true.
relationships, some relationships end. A lot of relationships end one way or the other.
Right.
So what happened when yours ended, and how did you find your way back to each other?
Well, like I said, we never, I was always in touch with his family, so I always knew what was going on in Jim's life and stuff like that. But even I just knew, even for my 50th birthday, my best friend commissioned Holly Carr painting. If you're familiar with Holly Carr, she does beautiful stuff. But it was Sue's favorite things. And so she has this beautiful painting of me sitting on my deck at the cottage in my running gear with a book in one hand, a glass of wine in the other, lavender, ladybugs, all of the fun things, birds, literally holly, and a wine bottle with the label. And on the label, it has JB, Jim's initials. So Jim wasn't even in my life then. And so, but these were my favorite things, right?
Did you know as soon as you saw that work of art what the JB was for? Yeah,
because I think I drove my we're best friends for over 40 some years, and I drove her crazy with Jim stories. I even, she met Jim's mom, the whole bit, so we always knew that, or I always knew. But it's
not like you were sitting around pining.
No,
for him.
Absolutely not. I lived in Europe. I met some really nice guys. I dated a lot, a fair bit. Let me rephrase that.
Jim clears us up.
A fair bit. And but I remember one guy in particular saying to me, "I get the feeling that you're just not available." Because anytime I would get that sense of, they're looking for a commitment, I'd be like, "I'm out of here." Because again, I remember one guy, actually, I don't think I ever told you this story, maybe, but one guy, took me out to dinner, and I'd known him for many years. And he was pining a little bit, and actually broke down in tears. And he said, "I know I will never be able to compete with Jim."
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Whew. So that's really amazing to me, because you had this certainty, yet it's not like you were in a victim role or in a weak role. You just were like, yeah, I know he'll come back around, no big deal, and I'll be happy until he does.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Okay, so how did the reunion happen? Keep it clean.
Okay, which one?
That'll be the hard part. Yeah. I better talk.
Oh, you better talk, yeah.
We were both in Toronto. I was single. Sue was single. And just finishing up a major project in Toronto, the G20 summits.
11 years ago. And we've been in touch somehow.
By email, I think.
Yeah, and sometimes it was just, here's a funny for the, I used to call them a smile du jour, so here's a laugh for the day, and we would kibitz back and forth. And one time he was, I was going to, because I traveled a lot with my job, as did Jim, and so I said, why don't we get together for a beer and rehash things and play catch up, and so Jim showed up at my door, and he thought I was with another guy at this point, so he didn't think it was a big reunion, and this other person had been long gone. But so Jim showed up, and like I was used to his curly hair too, and so we just chatted, and it was like I remember that day saying to Jim, and he took offense to it. I said, "This feels like an old pair of slippers." And he took major offense to that.
Just what a guy wants to hear after 30 years.
Yeah,
really nice.
But it just
how romantic.
Yeah,
how romantic.
But
it is though.
It was, cozy. It just felt right, and you're comfortable, and all of those things. So we just had our beer and had some pistachios and caught up, and then we just kissed again, and I
still wasn't doing it right.
I was just checking to see if he had learned anything along the way.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give a report?
Yeah, it was pretty good. 10, 10, 10, yeah. So that's how we kind of, then we started dating, like officially dating, and Jim's a Mr. Romantic kind of guy. So the people at the office, he was driving them crazy, because I'd go to work and there'd be a bouquet of roses. And when that one died, there would be another bouquet of roses, and so on. And like some of the guys were saying, "Jim, you're killing me," just because he was constantly his little Mr. Romantic guy with beautiful cards, and he loves to write. So I still have all the letters he sent to me from university, which was fun when we did get back together because we went through those and had a laugh.
Oh, wow.
And I still have the gifts that he gave me. In grade 9, we were in going back a ways. We were in the playground, and it came to his attention that day was my birthday. So we bolted off to Kmart with Stephen and came back with this beautiful little necklace that I still have. I was going to bring it just for fun today. And but anyway, so when we got back together, I said, Jim, I get these letters downstairs. I'm going to go get them. And we just had a hoot because he was, said, I'm going to be a pilot one day. Do you want to come and live in California with me? And all these things in these letters. So, but anyway, yeah. So that was day one of our reuniting. And, of course, there's, over the years, because of our dancing, because of our sports, and because of, the history of high school and university and junior high, music is a trigger for us. So then we were playing, the song Reunited, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
And, again, showing our age. But
can you sing that, Sue? Just remind us.
Okay, give me a B. I'll go. Yeah, you don't want that. So that was kind of fun too.
So what was the relationship like once you got back together after that 30-year gap?
We both changed, obviously, having had full careers, different friends, matured, and that kind of thing. So I think it changed the dynamics quite a bit, but for the better. We both brought different things to the relationship. And I knew as soon as we got back together that was it for me. It was going to be, I'd been through some marriages that, like you say, you learn from them, you experience things, you have 2 boys from them, but this was different. This was going to be my final love for sure, my only love. So, I knew it. So within 3 months, I had a ring that I worked on with a jeweler to build for Sue. And after 3 months, I had this nice romantic in the Muskokas hotel and had this big dinner. And
more flowers.
And it was really quite romantic. So we went for dinner that night, and I had the ring with me, and I pushed the box across the table to her. And she just kind of looked at it like, what is this? It's 3 months after we've gotten back together. And you could tell what it was. So she opened it very slowly.
Gingerly.
Yeah,
just see her now.
Butter. Yeah.
If you ever saw the Parquet commercial where you open it up and it says butter. Well, she opened it and closed it really quickly.
Oh, my gosh.
And did this about 4 times and looked at me like, what is this? Like I was crazy. So I said, no, it's just something for you. It doesn't have to be what you think it is. But for me, it was an engagement ring to eventually get married one day.
Yeah, and to me, it's a commitment ring. We're committed to each other. And to Jim's point, we have grown. One of the things when Jim and I got back together, his mom, I was very close with his mom as well. And Jim said to me, Mom always wanted us to get back together. And, of course, I knew that. But he said even on her deathbed, unfortunately, she has passed. And, I'll turn to you. And what did she say to you?
Basically, she said, make sure that you get back together with Sue one day.
Yeah.
And my dad did the same thing on his deathbed.
Oh,
yeah.
So it was like, they were very much Sue fans.
But I didn't believe that. I thought that's a bit much, right? I thought, okay, he's that's pretty good. But then there were family reunions, and I'm sitting beside his older sister, and she said, Mom, when she was ill, she said, but and I was like, oh my God, so it was not that I doubted him, but I kind of thought it was lovely, but.
Oh, she knew you both so well.
Yes.
And she could just see it so clearly,
Yes.
probably.
Yeah, we have a good life. We have a lot of fun. We laugh like fools. Bathroom humor is not unusual at our house, but it's, and sometimes I forget that we're not high school kids anymore. Honestly, I think that, a lot of time has passed, but let's live it up now. This is it. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is, we're playing the back nine, and, and we're blessed with good health. We're blessed with experiences and friends and family. So what more could you ask, right? So we're really lucky.
I'm still holding out the hope that at one point when I'm 80 years old, we'll get married on a beach somewhere. But I'll just hold out that hope and continue on.
Years ago, 30 years ago, no, actually 30 plus 11. So 41 years ago, he gave you an ultimatum. If you can't tell me you love me, that's it, we're done. Can you tell him now for me, please?
He knows I love him. But it did take me a while for, when we did get back together, like it bothered him that I still couldn't, because I don't know, you and I've had that conversation on the side, but it took a while, and now I can say, I love you, Jim, very much. And, we were meant to be together. And like I said, there was just never any question in my mind, so.
There you go, Jim. It took a while, though.
Took a while, for sure.
Yeah.
Like pulling teeth, but
yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. No, here's it off. And sometimes we'll just stop in the middle of the street and just say it.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
I think that you're both just bundles of positive energy. I love being around you. I so appreciate you doing this. And I know people will really have enjoyed hearing your story.
Thank you, Nancy.
We love you.
Love you too.
Thanks so much for listening to the Canadian Love Map. If you love us, please subscribe and share. We'll be back next week with another love story to add to the map. This podcast is presented and made possible by Charm Diamond Centers. It's hosted by me, Nancy Regan, and is produced and distributed by Podstarter.